All right, everybody. Welcome back to what was formerly known as Tar Heel Illustrated, now in a bit of a transition period known as THI is what we're rolling with, at least for now. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones and AJ. We're here to talk a little bit of Carolina football, in particular, the interest and the excitement, I think, about Carolina football, not only being higher than it was this time last year, but I also think, this is coming out on July 7th. As we get closer to the season now, is just continuing to increase and increase. So it's fascinating in a lot of ways. And, we could sit here and talk numbers from, going back and looking at podcasts we did over the last couple years compared to maybe some recent podcasts we done. We're not going to sit on here and do that. That obviously played a factor in being able to kind of see some of that interest going up. And I don't think there's a surprise there in that respect when you consider this new era of Carolina football that's fastly approaching. But it's always such an interesting time when the football excitement comes back, because we've talked about it so much, apathy, not being kind of rewarded for being a Carolina fan over the years. But when you bring a guy like Bill Belichick in, I think we'll probably talk a little bit about what Carolina's been able to do, not only in the portal, but on the recruiting side, because I think that's playing a factor as well. I think there is a lot of positive momentum going into the season from a Carolina fan perspective about what this program might be able to do this year. So what's your take on that, AJ? What's your take on the excitement around the football program right now? Because again, I think compared to last year, this time, I don't even know if you can compare the two, really.
No, you can't. There's no point in it. Apathy had set in to a degree, and that's one of the reasons why they made the decision that they did. People had stopped believing in Mac, and I thought it was fair to wait and judge Mac through last season because he had done some really good things. And I really, as a little sidebar here, and some people think I'm just so pro Mac, but people should never forget what Mac did. You went to an Orange Bowl. Hadn't done that in 71 years. Okay.
NIL changed things.
It totally changed the program. And I think people can understand that now. Bill Belichick is not operating with the same tool set that Mac Brown was operating with. And good for him. And that's the only way he gets the job or takes the job. And he's made a lot of it. The fan interest is significantly higher. And I'm going to go back, since I've been around since dirt was invented. I can tell you that there are 3 periods now that I can use as a gauge. Butch Davis, when he was hired, man, it was off the charts, the excitement. Off the charts. The energy in Kenan Stadium for the JMU game, his first game, was incredible. This JMU, they were still FCS back then. So I covered a game at Duke that day and then went over to Chapel Hill for that game. And my story, instead of going to the press box, my story was inside the stadium, was the environment. So I just roamed around the stadium the whole game, and I was like, wow.
I
was at the Wilmington Star News at the time. Gotcha. And so I wrote a column about the environment. I talked to some fans, and ushers let me stand sort of in the little entryways and things like that. I just kind of bounced around the stadium. It was wild. It was great. It was a football environment. Then Butch leaves, and people really soured after that, and I understand. And there are people like, well, we just can't have nice things when it comes to football. Larry comes in, there wasn't much excitement, so I'm not even going to bother comparing Larry. And Larry did a pretty solid job, too, for all things considered. Matt comes in part 2. There's excitement, but, man, on the heels of 17 and 18, it took – a lot of people were cautiously optimistic. This old guy coming back, boy, they're just trying to recreate something before you can never go home again. People pointing to Bill Walsh going back to Stanford, Joe Gibbs going back to the Redskins, all that stuff. And a lot of people they didn't think Mac was going to lead them to a national championship, put it that way. But there was still excitement, no doubt about it. Oh, yeah. However, that stadium wasn't full in Charlotte when they played South Carolina that first game. I think Bill Belichick team plays South Carolina in the first game in Charlotte. The UNC aspect, all the tickets that it would get would be full. And I think the stadium would probably be full. I think there is a difference. And that's kind of what we're saying here. It is a significant difference. And what's interesting is a lot of people have been pulled over to the excitement side of the ledger because of recruiting. A lot of people were like, hey, I'm not too sure about all these portal guys. And they pieced together a roster, which I think has more high-end parts on it than some others might. I do like a lot of what they did. I love what they did with the offensive line. I love how they're creating competition. The secondary's got a ton of competition. Offensive line, a ton of competition. Look at the secondary. You better make plays, man. You're coming off the field.
Yeah.
This is the NFL. It's the NFL there. It's the NFL on the O-line, all that stuff. But the football recruiting has been fascinating. All the kids are getting from California. You're getting kids from Arizona, from Texas. They picked up 2 brothers in the last week from Alabama.
Mississippi.
Picked up a big-time one yesterday. The kids from all over. Their recruiting footprint is the United States of America. Mac used to talk about Washington, D.C., down in Atlanta. We know that kids go further from home they're going to transfer. Better chance they transfer. So, and I get it. And I think Mac's logic made a whole lot of sense. Mm-hmm. But Bill Belichick has been in the NFL his entire life. The NFL, every nook and cranny of the country is your landscape. You scout it for the draft, and that's what he knows. And he also knows he can attract kids. Michael Lombardi knows they can attract kids. And I think something a lot of fans are starting to hear more and more. When you do the recruit stories, the commitment stories, and when you get the interviews and you hear the kids and what they say, every damn one of them talks development. With all due respect to past coaches, I didn't hear development nearly as often as I hear it now. Not even close.
We didn't see it as much either, really.
The kids love the Mac culture. They love Mac's pitch. They love Mac's experience. He's a wonderful man, all those kind of things. Belichick doesn't have to be a wonderful man. These guys want to make money playing the sport and get to the NFL. They want to be developed. They want to have an opportunity to become great. I'm not saying that wasn't why kids went and played for Mac or Larry or anybody else. They had wonderful reasons to go play for those coaches. And certainly Mac had a great sales pitch, a phenomenal sales pitch. Before NIL, he was kicking ass on the recruiting trail. And I think he would have had a lot more success if NIL never happened. I truly believe that. But that happened. Things played out the way they did. I think right now, the message, the track record, what they're pitching, and the fact that they've jettisoned some pretty good players, they brought in some other guys. The kids know this is business. This is different. It's a different culture and climate around North Carolina football than we've seen in a long time, if not ever before. So that's why I think a lot of people have sort of slowly come on board. I know them personally. Mm-hmm. They've slowly come on board. And when all the Jordan Hudson stuff was going on, they're like, man, this is an S show and all that kind of crap. Man, that was a pimple on an elephant's rear. It was immaterial.
Yeah.
Right now, they're 2 months from playing a game. They're less than 4 weeks from starting practice. And the 2.5 weeks, they're going to be in Charlotte, the ACC kickoff. Mm-hmm. It's here, man. And I think people are going to get much more excited quickly. I think Bill Belichick making himself available was very important in this respect because he did give us some more answers. We need more Bill. We need more players. Get those faces out there. Let people know who Christo Kelly is. When I asked him the question about dancing and Irish dance, I mean, that gets people to know about these kids. Thad Dixon, someone said, what's the difference here? And he's like, oh, the trees, man, the trees are everywhere. And he went fishing, never been fishing before. Get those stories out there. One of the reasons Carolina basketball fans are so connected to Carolina basketball is because they feel like they have relationships with the players, even though they'll never meet them. Mm-hmm. You need to create an environment that happens also with football. I think they saw some of that happen here a few weeks ago. I'd like to see more of it, selfishly as a journalist, so I got more access, but also for the fans. Let the fans know who they're rooting for. Let them know who they're cheering for, especially with all the new faces. So I think it's a significant difference, Jacob. And I actually am more excited now because of that, because I think we're going to get a lot more feedback, especially with what we're doing moving forward. We're going to get a lot more feedback than we ever have about Carolina football. It's going to be crazy. It's also going to be thoughtful. And I look forward to that.
Just a random sidebar. You mentioned Christo Kelly with his Irish dancing. I wonder what the odds are of, because very, very, very unlikely Christo Kelly scores a touchdown for North Carolina this year. I think we can all agree on that. I wonder what the odds are of him hitting an Irish dance with maybe a Jordan Ship after he scores a touchdown, or a Davion Gauze. That's got to happen at some point this year, right?
We need to start some kind of petition for a mandate that if they're up 40-7 in the fourth quarter against somebody, that he becomes the modern day William Refrigerator Perry.
Belichick's
in the end zone. And the thing is, he's got to practice it with the other guys.
Yeah.
So he gets in the end zone. He leads the Irish dance, and they're behind him. It's like Michael Flatley's dance company. And you got your lead one out there, and they got the rest of them behind, hands on the hips and all that stuff. You kidding me?
I think you can pencil it in. I do.
That's a signature moment, man.
Even if he doesn't, because again, him scoring a touchdown as a fullback, dream world, be great. Very unlikely. I envision him hitting a dance with one of the skill players or quarterback, Gio Lopez.
I think they should do it anyway. We have already gone into a rabbit hole, Jacob, a giant Irish rabbit hole.
You got my mind thinking right now.
Yeah, and so it's a sheep hole. You know, all the sheep in Ireland. So I think any touchdown, like QB sneak, any kind of counters or dives that go over center in between one of the gaps on the left or right side of the center, that they score automatically. The whole group gets into an Irish dance, and he leads the way.
I think it happens. I really do. I think it happens. Might get a flag thrown for that with some of this stuff, but who cares, man? Let it happen. Maybe if they're up big or something lower. I think it's a guarantee that happens. Let us know in the comments if you think that happens too. But back to what you're saying, AJ. The interest is great to see. It's not really surprising, and I wonder how much. Let's explore this for a second too. Obviously, there's a lot of Carolina fans that don't really care about as much about or is invested in much in the numbers and financial aspect that go into it. They just want to see Carolina play football on a Saturday and know what the team's doing. But I wonder, not only with the Belichick effect, not only with the recruiting effect, but I wonder how much of the Carolina kind of finally on the football side, it feels like putting their money where their mouth is investment wise. I wonder how much of that maybe is leading to some of this excitement too, because what Belichick's getting paid. The investment, if you listen to some of the pods and reports that we've done, among others, the investment that the football program is now receiving, which is going to put them in a better stead in NIL, which is why they're able to go out and get some of these guys that Carolina fans are excited about and go out and get some of these high-level recruits as well out of high school. Like, I wonder how much of that may be playing in effect, because it seems like that's something, as a Carolina fan, if you're privy to that information and you're really a diehard, I think that has to excite you too, because that has been something we've talked about. You had a lot of conversations with Mac Brown behind the scenes about the lack of investment on the NIL side in particular. I feel like that's got to play a little bit of a factor in this too, right?
I think that's an awesome point that you just made, and I think that's part of it. I think what you're seeing here is players love to say, especially football players, like in August, we just got to stack good days. We got to stack good days. Well, what the program is doing is they're stacking things that should make people feel optimistic moving forward. So the first thing was, and they had made the determination to invest as they are before Bill Belichick was on the radar. Then when he's on the radar, you absolutely have to move forward that, because he's not going to come in and work, he's not going to try to run the program like it's Louisiana Monroe. So you're going to have to invest. And then, of course, when you decide you're going to hire him, it's a full-on commitment. There's no backing out at that point, right? Yeah. Suddenly, pen to paper makes it happen, and they have. They've done that. And while some people were concerned that they didn't spend as much money as they could have in the portal, it's not about just throwing money. It's also about the right money with the right people. And you got to make it work. They have 28 commits right now for the class of 2026 in football recruiting. You make a financial obligation to each one of them. Each one of them comes with it. They're spending money. Their range of those kids, if you're just all about star rankings, there are some kids that aren't going to enamor you, but the staff doesn't give a crap about that. But there is a commitment you have to make to each one of these kids now. So they're clearly spending money, and they're not done. They're going to end up with more than 30 kids because they're going to 105 man roster. There are a lot of programs that aren't going to do that, but you have to make a commitment, especially with the rev share. You've got to give these kids money. So they are fully committed. I think a lot of fans see that. The Belichick factor, he's gotten through the Hudson stuff. All that's got Pablo Torre is a footnote in the springtime. That's it, man. He's done, unless he wants to come back and say something else. But he's done. So they continue to get kids, and they're getting closer. I think that Gio Lopez and Max Johnson taking part in the Manning Academy. I think that helps. Mm-hmm. It's only going to the optimism that maybe Max Johnson will be healthy enough to play. I thought that Bill's answer to my question a few weeks ago about that gave me reason to believe that there is a chance now that they have an experienced guy who threw 47 touchdown passes with 12 interceptions in the SEC available. He may not start, but he's available. And suddenly, if that's your backup quarterback and he's healthy, there are a lot of programs in the country that would love to have someone like that as their backup quarterback in this day and age. So I think there's a lot of reasons for optimism from a purely football perspective. And I think fans have slowly allowed they've stacked all those realities, all these things that have changed and are happening. And it's given a lot of them reason to think that, you know what? May not be a great team this year. You have no idea. It's a crapshoot in a lot of ways. But the program is situated where if Bill Belichick is capable of building a winner in college football, the foundation is there for him to do it.
Absolutely. And that's so important especially in today's era of college football. It was important under Mac as well, but in Fedora and going back to that, the foundation has to be there. But again, it's even more important now when you think of the financial foundation that has to be there, because honestly, man, you can't compete if you're not back financially. And that's one of the things that I think people that have been not covering Carolina, obviously that too, but fans that have been following Carolina football, the diehards, that has been one of the criticisms that's been thrown out the football program or at the school. It's like, heck, we did a podcast after the JMU game where we talked about it for like an hour long of when is the school going to show or the university kind of going to show that they're really serious about being great at football. And it feels like now with this new era with the investment, with the hires, that there is at least a belief and a want to be really good at football. Now, whether that happens under Bill Belichick in year 1 or year 2 or year 3, whatever happens with him, who knows? That's still up in the air. But
I think that's been happening there, Jacob.
I do too.
I've got to be fair. I have to be fair to Bubba and the athletic department and also to Mac Brown here. Since you brought up that podcast that we did, we got a lot of information from the program. There was concern about they weren't moving forward, and they were 100% right to have that concern. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, Mac Brown never should have been in a position where he's picking up the phone and calling money people saying, I need $500,000. You know, he should never have been in that position.
No.
But he was theoretically in that position, right? And they didn't have enough. I know how much Mac had to spend in December 2023. I'm not going to give the number here, but it's repulsive. You cannot compete. Mm-hmm. So, but a lot of money was tied up in players that were returning. So in one sense, Mac could say, well, I only had this much to spend, but a lot of that money that they had available was spent to keep guys there, which I think is wise. Mm-hmm. So you're usually going to get a better deal, and you might as well go to battle with who you know, right? So Mac's program didn't get anything close to what Bill's program is getting, but Mac's program got a whole hell of a lot more than Larry's did.
Yeah.
So we ran that podcast. The athletic department reached out and provided the numbers to me. Mm-hmm. And I read the numbers and I wrote a piece about it, and I've done a couple pieces on it. We talked about it in the podcast. So Mac was 100% right, but the athletic department was right to very quickly defend itself because it had already taken big steps forward to spend money on football. I think what happened late last November and early December was you're kind of at a crossroads. You've either got to go all in or not. Mm-hmm. And the decision was made to go all in. Mm-hmm. And they did that. Now, if they would have hired somebody else, that coach would have a lot of money to deal with, a lot more than Mac had. So being Belichick, it was non-negotiable. It was an absolute. You couldn't fudge on $1.
Yeah.
And now that they're operating that way, that is the new starting point. Mm-hmm. So if Belichick, if it doesn't work out with him, the next guy's going to come in and not get less. That's his starting point. So they're all in on football. I think a lot of people know it, and I think that's why there's a lot of optimism, maybe not 100% for 2025, but moving forward, that North Carolina is situating itself to be a big-time player on the football landscape, or at least be ready to roll if and when the time comes, they move into another power conference.
Absolutely. And just one more thing I'll say about what you said about Mac and backing him and all that stuff. You can also, and you kind of alluded to this too, from an athletic department standpoint, kind of understand. I know a lot of fans will understand this too. Of you can kind of understand of maybe not wanting to go, maybe being hesitant to give more and more and more to the program in the state it kind of was in, with how the seasons had ended and how, had underachieving a little bit, you can understand why it would be a little bit of a hesitancy to say, yeah, like, we've already given you a lot. We're not going to give but so much, because we're just like the fan base, not really sure how this is going to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had someone in a position, a noteworthy position, say to me, at what point do you stop throwing good money after bad money?
Yeah.
So Bill Belichick has to win. This isn't just hey, what a fun experiment this is. He's got to win.
Yeah.
Now, maybe not 11 games in 2025, although I think that you're paying for 11 wins. The amount that they're putting out, playing this schedule, playing in the ACC, you're paying for 11 wins.
100%.
But if 11 wins don't come in 25 under the current regime, they have to come in 26.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the differences now, is that you have to do things now. Suddenly North Carolina is going to be a program where if you're spending this money, you have to achieve certain things, or you go find someone else who can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the, people think that it's insane that these SEC schools fire dudes after 2 years. Well, no, because they're paying these guys. Their programs are getting the money to win 10, 11 games. And if they don't do it, you got to find somebody who can, period. I think I think that's UNC football moving forward, especially now they're going to make a change at AD. I mean, Bubba's bought in on this, but the next guy is totally going to be in on this. They're going marketing, they're going money. And if you want to raise a bunch of money, and if you want to sell a patch for a jersey to raise revenue for the whole athletic department, well, the better the football team is, the more it's going to cost to put that patch on the jersey. So that's great. I think that's why people are excited. I think that's why people should be excited.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm glad you said that about, he's got to come in and win. I mean, you remember the podcast we did after his introductory press conference. I've been saying it since then of like, I don't really care about having these conversations that everybody wants to have, of, especially back then, of, oh, is Belichick a good hire? Should they have hired him? Is he a bad hire? It's like, no, if he comes in and wins football game, if he wins football games, it's a great hire. If he doesn't, it's not a good hire. And that's how I've always looked at it.
He's their guy, man. It's all, and trust me, some of the people didn't like our podcast about Hubert working with the USA coaches and stuff, which I think was a great thing for him. And it's not disrespectful to say that. Bill Belichick goes to the ACC meetings in Amelia Island in May. And Dabo Swinney's like, he's asking all these different coaches questions. He's picking everybody's brain. He's picking Pat Narduzzi's brain. All right. He's picking Manny Diaz's brain. He's picking Dole Dave's, well, maybe not Dole Dave, because they probably, Dole Dave probably keeping his distance. But let's face it, man. I mean, obviously Bill O'Brien, there's a relationship there. Dabo, he's picking, Mac Brown, when he came in 2019, 18, he got hired 2018. See, he took a bunch of his staff down to Clemson for a few days to learn from Dabo. These guys do it all the time, and Belichick's doing it. He's not walked in like, hey, man, I'm Daddy Rich. You guys need to fall to the floor and bow. He's not doing that crap.
No.
I think the approach, the more I learn about the approach, the more I believe that this is going to work.
Yeah, I'm trending in that direction too. I mean, we've done pods where we've talked about concerns and done pods like this where we talk about all the good things going along with it. But yeah, the closer we get to the season and more we see what's going on the recruiting signs and learn to kind of how about, again, the approach of the program, I lean in your direction too, where I think this has a lot better chance of being a successful hire, whatever that means. That can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but being a positive, successful hire than North Carolina than being a disastrous, looking back in a few years, why the heck did they make that move higher? I lean more towards the positive direction right now.
I also think it's a why not hire.
Oh, I agree. We've said that since minute one. Even when we were a little bit critical of it in the beginning of like, giving the reasons of why this might not make sense. I think when you look at Carolina and the position it's in, and you've got a guy like Bill Belichick who's reaching out to you for the job, you're kind of like, I mean, why would we not do this? And who knows? We'll see what happens. Again, like I've said, if he comes in and wins games, great hire. If he doesn't, bad hire. I mean, it just comes down to that. It's pretty simple when it comes to sports. So, yeah, man. But excitement's there. A lot of reasons why, and I'm really intrigued to see what does that excitement look like as we get into the meat of the season when the wins and losses start coming. Does that excitement stay? Does it waver? Or people like, you know what, let's ride this and let's see what this guy can do? Because it is year one. We have to keep that in mind too. And the expectations can't be.
And the opener is so much harder than people realize.
Oh God. Yeah, of course, man.
So much harder than people realize. I don't think that this is a super easy non-conference schedule. I don't think going to Central Florida is a walk in the park to bounce out.
Playing TCU at home is an easy game.
I know. 2.5 years ago, they're in the national championship game, and they won 9 games last year and have a lot of dudes back, and they spent money in the portal. So that's going to be a very difficult opener.
Yeah.
But we'll talk. We have plenty of time to talk about that. We gotta jump off this one before we hit on any more sheep holes.
Yeah.
See what I did there? Sheep hole?
Yeah. A Guinness hole.
Sheep path, sheep, I don't know what the hell the sheep do. Holes, I don't know.
Graze, I guess. Yeah, it's about the only thing I know.
More sheep grazing.
Yeah, we got to get out of here, man.
I don't need to graze. That's part of the. Yeah. Right now, I'm doing about 17,000 steps a day right now.
You're grinding, man. You're grinding. It's a good time to do it, too. Get that sweat in nice, hot, and humid this time of year. I got on
my hands now for it, too, which is wild. My wife's like, are you okay? I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just sitting here.
Like, I figured you'd have that problem. When I was like, AJ's not going to know what to do with themselves for about a
so there's actually TV programs on a weekday afternoon? Or really, on screens aren't just blank?
Like, this is what life's like. I can go to the store and like not have to worry about 17,000 things happening at once. So we'll get on out of here.
The reason I looked at my phone was because my wife texted me like 6 times because she's always telling me, oh, I need this, I need that. And it inevitably happens once I'm already in the car.
Notice AJ is not checking his phone every couple minutes. Not that it's not portal season like it was.
Because I think we're getting ready to go down to Wilmington to see my dad.
Yeah.
And I thought that she was texting me like, hurry up.
Well,
we have one more pod to do. We got to get it done quickly.
I know. I was about to say, I'm going to help Kim out a little bit. I'm going to hurry this on up so we can close this out. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Get involved in the comments. Let us know if you're excited about football season. Let us know why you're excited about football season. If you are excited about it, let us know what you think Belichick's going to do in year one. Appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned. We'll have an announcement hopefully sooner rather than later. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.